Good tidings, fellow friends of the world. It's Zeklo, and welcome to a Don't Starve Together lore speculation video. Now, this isn't going to be like the last one, where I have a set theory and I bring up evidence to support that one claim. Instead, I am going to have several smaller claims where I have a little bit of evidence to support them, due to the sheer amount of stuff that the murals brought. It's kind of hard to choose a single standing of like this means this and this, and as you can see, there's a straight linear path of lore, and that's exactly how it turned out. It's a lot of information to take in, and there's so many ways that I've seen it interpreted, and so many ways I myself have been interpreting it. So I'm just gonna pull up some pictures of certain parts and what I think those could mean, and we'll go from there, I guess. So, hope you enjoy it still. I hope it lets you stimulate some of your own ideas, and I want to hear those ideas. So anyway, I'm just gonna get right into it. Oh, also one more thing, I'm going to be using the original data mined murals, as they don't have the ruins filter on it. Depicted here, we have some sort of cycle. I do not believe this to be the moon cycle, as that would make the first and the fourth a full moon and a new moon, respectively. This in turn would also make the primary color used to represent it black. I find this strange because they have other colors such as white and blue, which would fit the actual color of the moon much better, and yet are not using it. If we're saying yellow is the main color being used here, we could say this could represent the sun. This is also the very same yellow used to represent thulecite. And in the Metheus page mural, the sun is drawn with a thulecite spiral. What this may mean could potentially be that thulecite comes from the sun, though this is unknown. To the right, we see an ancient mining some gems. They are receiving a blue, yellow, and green gem. This is important because the whole top panel seems to be representing the surface, which is strange as we only ever find green and yellow gems underground. This could potentially mean that all these sort of gems were stripped from the surface by the ancients. Here we see some bluebirds. Strangely enough, we never see bluebirds in the game. Now, if we say that blue represents cold, like it does with the blue gem, that would make these cold birds. So we could say these are winter birds. Thus, we could say winter is coming. This would apply to the next scene as we see ancients carrying resources into the caves. They could be trying to escape winter. Deeper and deeper down, we finally come across the gateway, and while it may look different than we're used to, it is fundamentally the same. There appears to be white going into it and black coming out of it. I say this because the black seems to branch out, meaning it has to stem from somewhere. That being from the gate. On the Metheus mural page, we can see a white gem seemingly connected to the gateway. I can see two possibilities for this. One, it is the very same white gem we see on the Refine tab. It seems to match it quite well. On the other hand, the ancients don't tend to draw circles, so this could represent the opal. This could also go hand in hand with Maxwell's quotes, which seem to imply that the opal is significantly powerful. We also know that the moon is capable of powering the staff to turn it into the opal. So, something's up with the moon, and Maxwell seems to know it because he never refers to the moon without quotations. Then, of course, there's the two figures at the center. One is the torch wielder, and the other is the staff wielder. Presumably this is the tragic torch and the ancient cane. They are both standing level foot and appear to be the leaders of this civilization. Strangely enough, at the bottom of this page, we see a landscape flipped upside down. I believe this to represent being so far underground, you have reached the other side of the world. In the next panel, we have the Ancient Gateway. It appears to be a little bit more upgraded than before, or perhaps altered in some way. There are also more shadow tendrils coming out and spanning the landscape. In 4 different instances, the staff wielder is doing something or another. 1, there's carrots. 2, there's gems. 3, there's mechanical parts. And 4, there are bones. The first and second don't strike me with too much interest, but the third and fourth do. This is due to the clockworks being mechanical beings made of gears and bolts and constructed probably from wrenches and stuff. And the fourth, because the fuel weaver kind of resembles what the bones here look like. Now, the mouth looks right, but it's missing a third eye and the horns are wrong. But, on the other hand, the fuel weaver does have an attack where they pull bones out of the ground and summon bone minions. So it's kind of similar to what the staff wielder's doing right here. And just below that, there's also another set of bones that does have 3 eyes, but the mouth and horns are still wrong. In the top center of the piece, just above the gateway, we see a similar mountainous structure as seen on the first panel, but there appears to be a single lightning bolt above it. This could signify that there's a storm, and it could potentially be the reason why they descended into the caves in the first place. The biggest part of the mural here is the 2 figures once again, but this time there seems to have been some sort of shift of power as one is standing higher than the other. Once again, the shadows seem to be wrapping around the cane. They have some sort of interest with it. There is also some sort of thing above the staff wielder's head, which could very well resemble a closed eye with 3 eyelashes, as in the next page there is an open eye in the gateway. Now, the torch wielder's fire has gone from gold to white. There's still a gold wisp, but the shift of color seems to occur in this panel. Just below that, there is some symbols that kind of resemble the words June 1. Now, whether this is just our brains making sense out of nothing, we don't know, but it could also entail something might occur on June the 1st. And just below that, there are ancients giving praise to this new rule. Change is occurring, and they seem to be accepting it. At least that's what I originally thought. Another thing I decided to consider is that they're taking a pose of those who may be stuck in like a hole. You know, you're stuck in a pit, you put your arms against the wall, raised, and you're shouting up calling for help. This seems kind of unlikely, but it is something to note. Now, I kind of piqued my own interest with my particular phrasing of a new rule. You could also say a new reign. I don't have any particular thoughts on the matter at the moment, but I'll leave you with that. It's kind of interesting if you think about it. At the very bottom, there appears to be a shadow tendril breaking out of the ground, some huts, some shells, and centipedes wrapping all around it. Now, whether or not these centipedes are trying to contain it is unknown. On to the next panel, a lot more shadow, and we can finally see the eye that was mentioned earlier. Those ancients that are not killed seem to be discolored and changed. Notably, their heads and hands are missing, which is interesting because in the transformation between Ancient to Terrorbeak, they kind of lose those aspects. It's also interesting as the things the Fuel Weaver summons to aid themselves are heads and hands. The most pinnacle part of the piece is once again the 2 figures. The torch wielder is off the ground and using a more tainted version of their torch, which much resembles the tragic torch, which is emitting a strange white light, repelling back the darkness. As for the staff wielder, their staff seems to be once again getting reached for by the shadows. At least that's what it originally looked like. Now that I take a look at it, the shadow is disconnected from the main branch, which leads me to believe this is actually working in reverse. The shadow is coming from the cane and is reaching for the bone. What this may entail could have something to do with the Fuel Weaver. Off to the side, the huskified ancients appear to be tainting items with the shadows. There appears to be what kind of looks like part bone, part wrench, a black gem, and a black carrot. Now, the black gem could potentially just be referring to the purple gem. Purple is never used in the murals, so they might not have access to the color. and so the black meaning shadow could mean shadow gem, so the purple gem. Or this could be a new gem entirely. Uncertain. The carrot is interesting because of the rabbits that we see in the Metheus page mural. It is possible that if this carrot were to be eaten by a rabbit, it could cause poor effects, potentially to the rabbits and the bunnymen. Perhaps normal rabbits ate it, making them bunnymen, and the nightmare effects that are within the carrot only really come out when people are insane, explaining beardlings and beard lords. On the final mural, we see a final form of the gateway that much resembles the current gateway we see, although it is still gold and not yet milded over with the strange brown substance now covering the atrium. It also appears to be broken, as we can see parts of it shattered about by the shadows. Strange enough, the shadows now take on a more thorn-looking form, which has me kind of wondering about Charlie's thorn vines. I don't know if there's a connection there, or it is just the way it is depicted. The most important piece of this mural has to be the throne. The only other throne we know is the Nightmare Throne, and considering everything here is being overtaken by shadow, it seems like only a matter of time before this throne does too. Now, if this is in fact the Nightmare Throne, that makes this ancient sitting on it the first person to sit on the Nightmare Throne. And if the Nightmare Throne does in fact preserve whoever sits on it, based on Maxwell turning to dust as soon as he steps off, that could mean, despite being ancient, they could potentially have been the person to sit on the throne before Maxwell, as time stagnates for them while sitting on the throne. Though they could also be taken as they turn to dust after stepping down due to the stress of sitting on the throne. There's no way to be certain, but that's a theory. Now, what bugs me here is the fact that their eyes are covered. As we saw in the last panel, their eyes dimmed out. Now, I wasn't sure whether or not this was their eyes going black or them closing their eyes. And unfortunately, we will never know as their eyes are covered here. I feel it was done on purpose, as if we see them with pure black eyes, we might get the idea that something might be a little bit wrong there. Beneath this is the ancient cane and tragic torch. Now, once again, shadows are circling the ancient cane. Once again, it is also disconnected, so it seems to entail that it is in fact emanating from this staff. Beneath this, there is a bunch of bodies of ancients. Now, due to the coloring and the shape of the spines, these are actually the transformed ancients, meaning they are dead, potentially due to moving on in the shadow forms as Terrorbeaks, which could leave behind their bodies to turn into the statues we see in the atrium. We also see the gold mask of the torch wielder broken in a lightning bolt sort of symbol. They appear to... It seems to imply that they're dead, but there's no saying as we don't see a body. It could just be their mask fell off. But, you know. Throughout this video, I have realized that I've been calling the yellow sort of color gold, as the color is sort of a gold color, while thinking it resembles thulecite. Now, after repeatedly saying gold, I've come to consider that perhaps this is not the color for thulecite. When we go to the Metheus page mural, we can see there is thulecite, there's the gateway, and the staff. Thulecite seems to be a more brown-orange, while the staff and gateway appear to be a more yellow. It is possible that they are in fact two different substances, which also leaves the sun in question, as the sun seems to be more of a yellow than the orange, while still sharing that thulecite curl. While editing the video, I seem to have noticed something else. There's a symbol in the ancient language, meaning nightmare fuel, that greatly resembles a lightning symbol. It is possible that by putting these lightning symbols there referring to nightmare fuel? Potentially? Don't know, but it could be worth some thought. Now, once again, that was just my more prominent ideas that I thought I could have some backing. So if you haven't taken a look at these, you should definitely go take a look. There are lots of lore. It's really hard to tell what they're for currently, you know, but hopefully we'll be getting new information. And hopefully soon, but I'm patient, I can wait. I can't wait, I need it now. But I want to hear you guys' theories, so hit me up. Maybe some of the things I said have interested you, maybe you could build on them, maybe you will like to rebuttal and say you're absolutely wrong. That's fair enough. You gotta accept defeat sometimes. So thank you all for watching, and fair whales.